today. Glad you are here. Been having some guests on the last 3 days, just you and me today, but had some guests on the last 3 days. If you've missed it, the replays are still available. They are available on Facebook if you just scroll through my account, or if you go on Twitter and search my name, or they're all posted on YouTube. Just search me on YouTube and you can find them there. We've had some great guests these past 3 days. Have had Randy Pennington was our first one on Tuesday. Mark Sanborn, author of the multi-million selling book, The Fred Factor, was Wednesday. Joe Calloway was yesterday. And I got a cool announcement about a very special guest that's coming up next week. And I'll have more on that for you when we get together on Monday. But Glenn Morshower is going to join us next week. Glenn Morshower will be with us next week. Now, that may be one of those names you kind of go, I'm kind of familiar with this guy. Who is this guy? If you were a big fan, as I was, of the TV show 24, he was Agent Aaron Brooks in the show 24. And if you watch The Resident now on Fox, he is the father of the main character, who is the billionaire that has the conflict with his son, and he's the chairman of the board of the hospital. But it's really cool. So he is going to be joining us next week. Glenn is going to take some time and spend the day with us. So Colin says, so that session will run long. Yeah, it probably will. Colin, as you heard, that was one of the jokes last night, was that we just can't do anything in half an hour with Glenn, and we're pretty verbose in our comments. Hey to Dwayne, thank you, appreciate that. Charles, always great to see you, and Colin, as you know, it's always good to see you. So the topic today is, how do we keep a positive sense yet not be Pollyanna? You know, if you're not familiar with the term, the Pollyanna is the person that is almost so positive that they're blind to everything around them. And we want to be positive. That's a choice, right? But simultaneously, we don't want to be so rose-colored glasses blindingly positive that we ignore reality and then make bad decisions therefore. You know, thereby making bad decisions because of that. And so that's what I want to talk about for a little bit today. How do you stay positive and realistic at the same time? I'm going to talk about optimism, pessimism, realism, and more on that today. So, Pam, great to see you as well. Thank you for that. Thanks to everybody, too, watching on Instagram. Hey, Phil Jones is watching from the United Kingdom on Instagram. Hey, pal, we got to get together and chat. And I have mentioned here before, I don't know if Phil was watching, I still have just a little bit left. This is the bourbon that Phil created. It's called Exactly What to Drink from the Kings County Distillery. And man, it is great. I'm sipping it. I'm savoring it as it's going on. Phil says we need to chat and drink, and we absolutely need to do that. It's Friday, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere, as they say, right? So all cool. So pessimism, optimism, realism. What is it? How do we approach that? Hey, Skip Pritchard, it was great to see you yesterday. Thank you. Good to see you, and I appreciate that. You know, so I walk out to get the paper this morning. We subscribe to the daily paper here in Las Vegas. I don't know why. I mean, that just shows maybe shows my age or my generation, my something. But I still like holding the paper. But you walk out, and this is laying in the driveway. And if on Instagram it's backwards, everything else is fine. It's millions more lose jobs. That's the first thing that hits me when I stroll out to the driveway this morning. How do you stay on top of things when this abundant negativity is all around us? Well, I think we have to look at, I hear so many people say, I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. But I have a problem with that. The old definition has been the optimist sees the glass half full, the pessimist sees the glass half empty, the realist sees a glass with something in it, right? I tend to see the glass as half empty, but we can go get a refill. Refills are free. It's really, really interesting. And particularly, and Charles, you beat me to it there with that comment, as we approach Easter weekend, for those of us who, and what I do every day here is not about religion. I happen to be a member of the Christian faith, and so as we look to the weekend and Easter, if there is ever a story that we need to be hearing now in terms of just problems and disappointment and challenge, and yet the rebirth that can happen after that, I think Easter, regardless of your faith or not faith or your choices, nonetheless, the story from antiquity is still a powerful message during this particular time. So let's talk about optimism. Let's talk about pessimism. Let's talk about realism, and understand this all comes into play with what we've talked about, that it's not what we do about a situation, it is how we respond to a situation that makes all the difference in the world. Let me pause for just a second and say hi to Tim. Tim Gilletta is watching right now, and I had the privilege of being on Tim's show yesterday, and we just had a fabulous conversation. If you don't know Tim or follow Tim, you can do so on Facebook, Twitter, everything. But you can do that, and it's it's a great follow, and he has great shows every day. It was my privilege to be on it yesterday, and as Tim points out, it's a good sign. Pam says, when the toilet paper runs out, the outhouse and daily newspaper look better than it ever has. I'm thinking about using this for exactly that, Pam. Optimism, pessimism, realism. What is it? I want to share with you, one of the things that bothers me is when I hear people say, I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. Because what they are trying to assert is that their definition of reality is the only one that applies. I don't think anyone can truly label themselves as a quote-unquote realist. And the reason is because the reality is based upon our perception of the situation. We've often heard that perception is reality, and while it may not be for the masses, it certainly is for the individual that holds that specific perception. You with me? So when we say, oh, I'm a realist, what it means is you have convinced yourself that your perception of reality is the truth, and that is a superior choice than the truth that other people see in the same situation. And we know that's not the case. Your perception is your perception. My perception is my perception. We might share that perception. We might agree with each other about the perception, and that's fine, but it doesn't mean that everybody else has to agree with that perception, with our perception. So what we have to do is to make the choice, it seems to me, of optimism or pessimism. In other words, we either have to believe that millions have lost their job, and there's no doubt. I mean, that's challenging. That's difficult. That's tough. So are we either going to come out of this better, or are we going to spiral down into an unfixable, untenable situation? That's our choice. I'm going to choose to be optimistic. I'm going to choose to believe that, as Jim Rohn talked about, and you've heard me quote him often here, the late great Jim Rohn, there are seasons in life. Just as there are seasons to the year, there are seasons in life. Yesterday, I was talking with Glenn Morshower, and we were talking about earlier, and he asked me a really important question. And that is, how do you feel about seasons, and what season are we in? And I got to tell you, from my perspective, and we had different perspectives, by the way. Who's the realist? Well, we both are in our own, we both believe that our perception is real. Okay, so my perception is that now we are in a winter. Now we are in a winter. When you see that millions more have lost their job, and the anticipation is that rate is going to double before the economy, before we're let loose and we're back out, I don't see how you can say anything other than that's a challenging situation. We are all faced with personal challenges in terms of the self-quarantining and all that. Matter of fact, here on Instagram, Tom Seaman just posted, the doctor told me yesterday I had to go on a bologna and cheese diet. I said, why? He said, it's the only thing that'll slide under the door. That's a good one. I like that. I mean, it's incredible how different and unique our lifestyle is. And it almost seems like it happened like that, doesn't it? I mean, it almost seems like it happened instantly. So I think we're in a winter. I think we're in a time of difficulty, and I think we're in a time of challenge. It doesn't mean that you are not an optimist simply because you acknowledge that it's a difficult, challenging winter time right now. But the important thing to remember is spring is coming. Spring follows winter. It's happened every time. After winter comes spring, right? After planting comes harvest. It's happened that way every time. Now, when you're in the midst of a winter, it sometimes seems like it will never end. There have been times, I grew up in Indiana, and friends from Indiana are watching right now, and I will promise you that there were times that there were winters that I thought it was going to stay freezing cold and snow forever. Right? I mean, there are some of these winters, it seems like it will never end. Sometimes we get in an economic winter. And man, I've been there, right? The times that there's more month than money, and it just seems like it will never end. I remember as a young kid, and my mom was driving me to school, and I asked my mom, would there ever be a day in my life where on the radio, when we got in the car, the first story wouldn't be about Vietnam? I thought it'd never end, right? I thought it would never end. I'm sure there are young people now that if they were that age around 9/11, they were young kids wondering, would there ever be a day where the first story on the news wasn't about terrorism? But this too shall pass. This too shall pass. I think that saying is a way of reminding us that every winter precedes the spring, that there will be a spring that will follow. And I think that's what we have to focus on in this particular period of time. Let me catch up with a couple hellos. My buddy Ken Walls is watching right now. And Ken, thank you a million times, a million X, for letting me join you and Glenn a couple of times on your show. Be watching for Ken. He has these great shows and great guests, and Ken is who connected me with Glenn, and that's why Glenn is going to be a part of the show next week. Is going to be my guest next week. So thank you, Ken, for that, and it's always great joining you, my friend. Pam, you like that bologna and cheese comment? Yeah, absolutely. Charles, that's a great point. Sometimes those glasses just get pitch black. We talk about the rose-colored glasses, and Tim makes a great comment there, but sometimes it's overwhelming. And I think we have to acknowledge that. I think that part of depression, and I'm no psychiatrist, I am no psychologist. This is just my armchair observation from having experienced it myself, and when I was going through a situation in my life, I got depressed, and I went into a deep depression, and I think part of that sprung from, at least in my case, part of it sprung from the unwillingness to acknowledge, just get it out, the severity of the situation I was in. By continuing to put on those rose-colored glasses and trying to portray that to the world, I won't say it generated, but it certainly exacerbated the challenge that I was facing at that particular time. When times are tough, I think one of the best things that we can do is say, man, times are tough. My pal Larry Wingate says, when do we go on a diet? It's not when we're looking in the mirror saying, man, I look fantastic. We go on a diet when we look in the mirror and say, I got to lose some weight. I mean, as many of us are doing through this process, as they jokingly said, it's the COVID-19 pounds. This is what it is. So it's the acknowledgement of the situation and then the choice of the response that determines our optimism or our pessimism. Make sense? But we first have to acknowledge the situation. I mean, there's nothing about millions losing their jobs that we can go, oh man, we're Darwin-esque, we're thinning the herd, how great, but it doesn't mean that we can't make lemonade from some of these lemons. Colin says, I question why people feel they have to be one side or the other. Why can't you see elements on both sides in a single situation and choose to focus? Yeah, Colin, I guess you're saying it better than I. What I'm saying is I acknowledge that the negative is out there, and I choose to focus on what I can do from a positive standpoint. I posted a video a while back talking about how to deal with worry, and that worry is nothing more or less than negative goal setting. Worry is focusing on what you don't want to have happen. It is the pessimistic choice. It is the focusing of our mind and our energy and our resources on the things that we don't want to have. And so to me, at least, it seems like a way that we deal with that is to make the choice to be positive, to be optimistic. Okay, if this is what I don't want to have happen, what do I want to have happen? It doesn't mean the negative isn't there. It rained here in Las Vegas yesterday. It poured down. It would do me no good to walk outside and throw my arms open and say, another sunny day in Vegas. That ignored the reality of the situation. But I can either sit inside and whimper and cry because it's raining, or I can go get an umbrella. And I think what we need to do in this situation is to go out and to get some umbrellas, to not ignore the fact that there is rain in our economy right now, a thunderstorm in our life right now. But I think our attitude about it is our umbrella. And some folks just want to walk in the rain. And other folks want to get an umbrella and keep on keeping on. And that is based on the choices that we make. Pam, hopefully today's newspapers are biodegradable, not flushable. That's good. Hey, Dwayne says, good stuff. My observations were more business related. I actually promote a little selling online and social media because we have materials and some out there need it. Yeah. So in a different way, I had to observe to actually do a little selling. I don't think that selling, Ken Walls and I talked about this a little bit last night. I don't want my thoughts on this to be misconstrued. I've talked about not selling in today's marketplace. What I mean is not hard selling. Good grief. Have you, on your email, have you just been overwhelmed with people trying to get you to buy something? And that gets back to what we were talking about the other day about what do you take to the field? What does the farmer take to the field? If you didn't hear it, here's the quick story. A farmer needs to make money, right, to keep the farm going. But if the farmer goes to the field, the open field, and talks about his need, nothing grows. If the farmer goes into the field and says, man, I've got to have a great crop this year because I'm going broke, or if I don't have a good crop this year, I'm not going to be able to make the payments on the equipment. I'm not going to be, right? What the farmer needs to take seed to the field and plant the seed. Because when you plant the seed, then the crop grows and your need is fulfilled. But I see a lot of people in today's marketplace taking their need, not planting good seeds. In other words, I'm going to hawk my stuff on you as hard as I possibly can. I want to get you to surrender, not just buy. I want to get you to surrender because I have such a desperate need. And the marketplace doesn't respond to desperation. So what we have to do is, in your situation, what are you doing? You're not taking need to the marketplace. You're taking seed to the marketplace. Here's materials out there that some people need, and we want to help you access what you need. That's great. And to me, that's optimistic. That's looking at the current situation, and it is saying, hey, I have something here that can help. In my field of speaking, I see a lot of speakers go into the marketplace with their need and not their seed. I did a conference for the American Gem Society. It's the association of everything from manufacturers, from Timex watches to Rolex, but mostly jewelry stores. And part of what we were talking about was, what can you do during this time? And I'm saying, think about where you can fulfill a need. Don't try to sell me a watch, but think about how you might clean and service the watch that I've already bought from you. Hey, we're sequestered here at home. The wedding ring I gave my wife 14 years ago, almost 14 years ago, now would probably be a good time to get that thing repaired and serviced, because we're not going out. We're not attending anything. What a perfect time for her to take off the ring and sit and get it. But don't try to sell me another ring right now, because I don't need to buy another ring, but you could bring something that would help serve and help service. So it's how you view that. And see, part of me is being optimistic about that. What's the current situation? Okay, what can I do to serve? What can I bring to you that now is a good time for me to help you, as opposed for now's a good time for me to sell you? And I think we have to take that and move that to whatever our respective business is. Hey, Mindy, it's great to see you. And I know that you're a fan of Ken as well. It's great to have Ken here. Colin says, did Scott just say something? I would say something better than him. Yeah, but there you go. It's Colin, I think about you a lot, because, man, I mean, you are one of our friends who, Colin does such a phenomenal job, and he's a guy that we've known for a long time at a couple different places that he's worked in Indianapolis, and it's just crazy when you're in the service business, because when that happens, man, I mean, it's kind of like what happened with speaking. It's gone. It's done. There's nothing there. So Bonnie just got on. Hey, Bonnie, how you doing? And Bonnie is one of the leading hairstylists and salon owners in the Chicago area. Man, I mean, it's boom. We got to shut it down. So what do we do? And there's no way that we can sit there and say, put on a happy face and everything's going to be just as some folks call it, Susie Sweet Cheeks. We're just going to be Harry happy. It's going to be good. We got to grasp the reality and the significance of the situation, but then choose positive approaches for what we're going to do there. Mindy says hi to Trisha. I didn't see that Trisha was in here. If she is, hello, Trisha with Action Coach. Always great to see you. Anyway, so there's the challenge, or the question I will pose to you. Now is the time that your choice in terms of your response and your attitude and your approach is really, truly revealed. Many folks have used the analogy, but I think it's spot on. When you squeeze an orange, you're not going to get apple juice. You're not going to get grapefruit juice. It's obvious. When you squeeze an orange, you're going to get orange juice. What comes out is what's inside. And we are being squeezed right now. I almost said squozen. we are being squeezed right now with the economy and with this pressure and with this challenge. So what comes out is going to be what we really are, or what we choose to become. That's part of one of the great things about being alive, isn't it? That we do get to choose our responses. And even if your response has been negative in the past, it does not mean they have to be negative in the future. You can start right now. So I want to suggest that we as a group here, the folks that watch this every day and the people that are connected, that we choose to be positive. Yeah, Eddie likes squozing better. We just make it up as we go along, Eddie. I'm just inventing words, man. I'm squozing. but we can start now. Yeah. Lowell has a great comment. A time like this makes good people better and bad people worse. I keep referring to Jim Rohn. I'm listening to Jim Rohn every day, because that's part of how I'm setting my attitude. Like you set a clock, and Jim Rohn's just the one that nails it for me. And Jim Rohn talks about money in that manner. Lowell, I don't know if you've heard that or not, but Jim Rohn's philosophy about money is that money makes you more. In other words, it makes you more of what you already are. So if you take a good person and they make millions of dollars, then that good person is who invests in their business and employs lots of people, and they contribute significantly to their church and community activities and all of that, right? Money makes them more generous. It makes them have more opportunity to provide. you give a bad person money and they become an insufferable jerk, right? They show off, they brag, they do negative things. It makes them more of a jerk. So it's not that money is good or evil necessarily, as much as it is that money amplifies what's already there. And I think this time that we're experiencing now is that in a very similar way, that same type of amplifier. Good people get together like we're getting together now, and we talk about ways that we can help each other stay positive. And difficult people and frustrating people and bad people, they exhibit, and we see it online with the comments that they make, and we see it in social media constantly. It amplifies their ignorance and their arrogance. And ignorance and arrogance is one heck of a combination, isn't it? How much do we see online that combination of ignorance and arrogance? I'm going to choose to be optimistic about the future. And I think the reason that you're here is because you are too. Hey, Andy, great to see you whenever you're here. I appreciate that. Andy just joining in here on Instagram. Thank you for being here. Hi, Melanie. Good to see you. Yeah, it is a measure of one's choices, right? I mean, how you choose to spend that or invest that is very, very important. Hey, Ken, let me know. I'm assuming that's a friend of ours in Dallas that you're Kyle that you're talking about there. So please let me know, and I'll be happy to plug that as well. So, well, hey everybody, that takes us up to today. By the way, I will be here 7 days a week, so I will be here tomorrow as well. I'll be here on Easter Sunday, and if you'd like to join in, I would love to continue the conversation with you right here. We're live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. I post this replay on LinkedIn because I haven't been able to get approved for LinkedIn Live. If anybody knows, can help me with that, I would certainly appreciate that, because it'd be great to be live on LinkedIn as well. We have hundreds of people that are watching this, which is just so exciting, and it's happening because you're sharing it. So thank you for those of you that have shared this, and you don't have to share it when I'm live. If you share it, people can watch the replay and then join us live if they'd like. So I truly appreciate that. The key is, regardless of the news around us, that it's not realism. It's our choice to be optimistic or pessimistic about what lies ahead. Hey, we got to choose optimism, because that's how things get done, and that's how the needle gets moved, and that's how progress happens, and that's what we can do. So thanks to everybody. Eddie, I appreciate that. Mindy, great to see you. Charles, as always. Ken, thanks everybody for being here. I hope you have a great Friday. I started to say have a great weekend, but it's kind of hard to tell the weekend from the rest of the week with all this that's going on, right? So thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you again. I really appreciate it. Wally, man, thank you for what you said there on YouTube just now. I appreciate that. So thanks, everybody. I really am grateful for you being here, and I look forward to talking to you again. Same bat time, same bat channel. That'll determine your age if you know what that's about. And I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. See you soon.